Hi everyone, it's Miss Eden, and this week we're making a dish from Asia. We're going to make actually one of my personal favourites. It's a chicken and sweet potato curry. It's really a meal in itself, but if you want to add a little bit of extra carbohydrate, you could perhaps have it with a naan or chapatis, or maybe some couscous, something like that. But I like to have it just on its own. There's so much variety of veggies in here. So let's get ready for practical or mise en place. Let's sanitise our surfaces, wash our hands, hair, apron, get our equipment, and let's go through the ingredients now. For your protein, you are going to need 2 chicken breasts, or you can substitute for Quorn fillets or even a tin of chickpeas. You will need 1 large onion, 1 large or 2 small sweet potatoes, 2 cloves of garlic, some chilli powder, some mild curry powder and a stock cube. And then you can choose from a variety of different vegetables. More solid ones, root vegetables, these kind of things tend to work better. So cauliflower is a great option, carrot, leek, swede, peppers, whatever you have available, whatever you enjoy. Then you can choose from either a coconut or a tomato base. Now the beauty of this curry is that we can change it to fit our personal preferences. I like to tend to go for more of a creamy curry, but some people love a tomato based one. And I can say I've actually had them both for this particular curry, and they both taste delectable. So purely down to whichever you want to try, and you could always give it another go and try it with the other one next time. The first thing that we're going to do is prepare our onion. We're going to dice it like we've just learned. So you know how to do this now, but we're just going to go through together very briefly. If it rolls, what do? Cut it in half. And how do we do that? With the bridge technique, making sure we're holding our knife nice and firmly so it's an extension of our arm as always. Also make sure we're going from pole to pole, not around the equator. Remove any bits we don't want in our food. Always keeping our chopping board clear. I'm putting these in my bits bowl to one side. And then the next step is to remove the stalks. Use our claw all the way through. And now we can peel it. Next we do our parallel slices. You could do 1 or 2 depending how confident you are, how large your onion is. Parallel to the chopping board, keeping our fingers clear right on the top. Give it a little wiggle. And then next is columns facing up towards the root. Claw. Tip of the knife goes in first, all the way down. And then for the last cut, using the bridge but keeping our thumbs clear. And then we go across and finish our dice. Keep our thumb and pinky on the side. Make sure it's not going to spread everywhere. Turn it over and finish the last bits if you haven't got enough grip. There we go. Now we're going to add about a tablespoon of oil to a large saucepan. You can either just estimate it or you can use a tablespoon measure. If you have olive oil, that's a great option, good heart health. Otherwise sunflower or vegetable oil is fine. I'm actually going to use coconut oil today because I'm going to be making mine a coconut based curry, so the flavours will obviously complement each other much better. That's about a tablespoon. And then we're just going to pop our onion into there. To prepare your garlic, if you need to get into a bulb or a head of garlic like this, you can just use your thumb or a knife to get it started and break it apart. Obviously I've done this for this one, so I'm just going to break out a couple of cloves, like so. I might do one more, because it's not very big. There we go. Now you can peel it or not as you choose. If you wish to peel it, then the easiest way is to hold it using the claw technique. You're going to cut down into the root end, but not all the way through, so that you leave a little tab, and that means that you can peel off the outer layers really easily, like so. Now you don't have to peel them, you could just put them straight into your garlic crusher. So this is my one, I can strongly recommend it, it's a great design. I'm going to pop these in here and then put it over the top and then crush it like so. There we go. Now that's the first crush, but you always need to jiggle it around, give it a second go to get the rest of it out. There we go. And then you can just remove the peel out of the garlic crusher. And then you can clean that. And now I'm simply going to prepare all my other veg. We want the large root vegetables to be about 2 centimetre cubes, so not really tiny that will overcook and go mushy, but not large pieces that won't cook at the centre. If you want to prepare leek, we'll go through that. Cauliflower, you know how to do, and anything like broccoli perhaps that you have. Peppers you want to add a little bit later on. So let's start with root vegetables now. So as you can see, I've prepared my root veggies and I put them in one bowl, and I have my soft veggies, my cauliflower and my peppers in this bowl. I just wanted to go through how to prepare a leek very quickly, because if you've never done one before, there's a little few things that you need to master. So the first thing that we need to do is just peel off the outer layer. It's always a little bit rubbery, not the most appetising. Put that in my bits bowl, like so. There we go. Spring onions, leeks, always a good idea just to take off the outer layer. Now you can see that there's quite a lot of soil in here, so I'm going to rinse that off first of all. And now I'm going to split it from end to end. There we go. If the top is a little bit rubbery, not particularly appealing, then you could just trim off the top bits as well. Now the reason I split it like this is because you want access to the inside. You can see here we have soil again, and you'll have it for the first few layers. The way that they grow, you get it with pak choy, you get it sometimes with celery, all sorts of vegetables like that. The way they grow is that they just get a little bit of soil in them. So by splitting it like this, you can now rinse it really thoroughly and get all of that soil off and avoid cross-contamination. And now that it's nice and clean, I can just chop it like with all my other veggies. And I'm going to add that to my soft veggies bowl. Now that I've prepared all my veggies, I can use my chopping board for my meat, for my raw meat. Of course, we never cross-contaminate. I would never chop these on here and then do the veggies. It's a lower risk because we're cooking them, but it's still a risk. I still think it's not necessary, and I can leave this till last and I can just wash it straight away. We're not reducing the risk of contaminating the area as well, and so on. If we are in school and we have access to a red chopping board, you can use that independently and entirely. Of course, at home we don't usually have a red chopping board or an independent chopping board just for meat, so that's why I do all my veggies first and leave the meat till last. So we're going to prepare our meat now. Now it is very squidgy, so it doesn't feel very nice, okay? But you just need to get used to it. And I'm just going to prepare it in the same way I have done for my other veggies. I'm going to do it to about 2 centimetre cubes. If I cut it with the sort of grain of the flesh, you'll find it easier, but there's no particular way. Just make sure that you're keeping your fingers clear. These little bits here, this little bit of sort of fatty tissue, that's fine, you can eat that. If you have gets a bit of sinew as well, it's fine, which is part of the meat. Only if you find a bit of gristle, which you cannot chew through, you really can't cut through, there's no point in including that, and then you need to dispose of that. Just a side note, if you are composting your veggies and putting the vegetable waste in the food bin at school, only please put veggie waste in. Do not put any meat or dairy products into there. Eggshells are okay, but that's it, okay? Because we do not want to introduce vermin into our compost, and it doesn't break down in the same way. So just veggie scraps in our bits bowl. In my large saucepan, I have my onions and my garlic and my oil. I've got the temperature up high, or you could have it on medium high, whichever works for you, as long as you keep an eye on it, don't let it burn. And now we're going to add our chicken. We want to make sure that we are cooking the chicken first. So we want to move the chicken around, and we should see it turn from pink to white. So while the chicken is cooking, I'm going to add the spices. You actually want to add the spices fairly early on, because you really need them to cook and take up the oil and the flavour. So for the chilli, I'm going to add, you can add either 1/4 teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon, depending on how spicy you like it. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of my mild curry powder. Seems like a lot, but this is what really gives it that beautiful, authentic flavour. And I'm going to stir it all in. Meanwhile, I've got my stock cube in a temperature safe jug, and I've boiled a kettle, and I'm going to do about 250 millilitres of water. Use a teaspoon and break it up. So I've been stirring my chicken, and I can see that all the pieces have turned white. Now we need to make sure that we are cooking it to the right temperature before we add our veggies in. There's a couple of ways we can check that. One, we can do a visual inspection, we can see they've turned white. Two, if any of them have actually got a little bit of golden colour on them, that would be ideal, but obviously we've got curry powder in there, it's hard to tell. If we have a meat thermometer, that would be ideal. We can stab it into one of the largest, chunkiest pieces, and we're looking for above 75 degrees centigrade, up to 80 is preferable. But I don't have a meat thermometer, most people don't have a meat thermometer, so the last thing you can do is you can get one of the large pieces, you can cut it open, and you can check if it's white all the way through. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to add my root veggies in and give everything a really vigorous stir. So these have been frying for a few minutes. You want to give them a little bit of extra cooking time compared to our soft veggies. Now we can add our tin of tomatoes or coconut. Just a tip on how to open a can. Most have a ring pull like this, so I'm going to lift the ring pull up using my nails, or you could use a knife or maybe a teaspoon. Put all the way. Put your index finger in the loop, put your thumb in the middle, pull back, and then all the way to the back and pull back again. I'm going to get all this beautiful coconut cream in here. And the liquid is at the bottom, so make sure it doesn't splash everywhere. And I can add my stock cube and my stock and give everything a really generous stir. Depending on what vegetables you've chosen, I would recommend leaving this to simmer for around 10 minutes before adding your soft veggies. If you have things like beans, you probably want to leave those about 2 to 5 minutes right before the end, because otherwise they will disintegrate, they'll get too mushy. So about 10 minutes, and then between 5 or 10 minutes for these to cook, and then we're going to be ready. So I'll come back in 10 minutes. So my veggies have been simmering for about 8 minutes, and now I'm going to add the soft veggies. Stir it all in. This is beautiful, hearty meal that we can share with our loved ones. I love making this. This is great. So once you've got everything covered, if you need to add a little bit more liquid, you could, but I think that's probably fine. Pop the lid back on and come back in about another 5. It's been about another 5 minutes, and I just want to check that my veggies are done. So if I take a large piece of sweet potato with a fork, can I poke it all the way through? Yes, I can, nice and easily. Things like peppers and leek and cauliflower doesn't take a lot of cooking, so they'll probably be fine as well. And then we just want to check it for taste. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the liquid with a clean teaspoon. That's lovely. I might just add a tiny bit more salt. So just a big generous pinch in there. And give it one more stir. Make sure all that salt is in that liquid. Grab a new clean teaspoon, a little bit more, blow on it. That was the right decision. Lovely. I'm really pleased with how that turned out, and I'm really looking forward to having that for my dinner tonight. I hope yours was just as successful, and I'll see you next time. It's a chicken and sweet potato curry. This is a beautiful dish. It's we are going to make a beautiful chicken and sweet potato.